Computers make homework, exploring, and jobs easier. Computers are used so much now they mainly run our whole world. Today, computers are smaller, they can work faster, and are much more affordable than they first were in the 1970s. Where would we be without computers today? Computers help us with research in school and at work. Most industries use computers to manufacture products like food, clothing, and other things we use in our daily lives. Before 1976, computers mainly looked like typewriters. They were mostly used by the military and government for decoding messages, radar defense, and planning. Most computers only did one task at a time, like calculations. Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak were the first two people to make a personal computer and to make the first personal computer manufacturing company. Steve Jobs briefly attended Reed College in 1972 before dropping out in 1974, deciding to travel to India to study Buddhism. While he was in college, he worked at Atari. Jobs stayed in India for 7 months and then left for the U.S. After going back to the U.S., Jobs then moved back in with his parents, and he slept in their tool shed. After living in an apartment, he went back to work at Atari. In 1975, he attended meetings with Steve Wozniak at the Homebrew Computer Club. Steve Wozniak, the son of an engineer at Lockheed Martin, was fascinated by electronics at a very early age. When he attended the University of California at Berkeley, Steve Wozniak met Steve Jobs through a mutual friend. After they formed Apple, he quit his job at Hewlett-Packard. Apple was founded on April 1st, 1976 by Steve Jobs, Steve Wozniak, and Ronald Wayne. 12 days after forming Apple, Ronald Wayne sold his share of Apple back to Jobs and Wozniak for $800 because he already had his own corporation. Steve Jobs was a fruitarian and wanted to name the company Apple. He was at an organic fruit farm picking apples when he got the idea. Ronald Wayne drew the first Apple logo that has a picture of Sir Isaac Newton sitting under an apple tree. The Apple I was first sold in July 1976 for $666. It had a wooden case. Apple Computers Incorporated was incorporated on January 3rd, 1977. On June 10th, 1977, Steve Wozniak said that a home computer should be small, reliable, and more affordable. The Apple II, also invented by Wozniak, was introduced on April 16, 1977 at the West Coast Computer Fair. Sales increased after the Apple II was released. Because of the increase, the Apple III was launched in 1980. In 1984, Apple was the first personal computer to be sold without any programming language. It meant you could not create programs. The Macintosh sold well right away, but after a while, sales decreased because it was expensive. In 1983, John Sculley became the president and CEO of Apple. Jobs resigned in 1985 because of a vote that made Sculley the head of Apple. After leaving Apple, Jobs took some of Apple's employees and started the computer company Next. Several months after making Next, Apple then bought Next from Jobs. After Jobs left, Apple introduced desktop publishing. Macintosh programs like Mac Publisher and Aldus PageMaker made desktop publishing much easier. The first laser printer writer printer cost of $6,995 helped make Apple a leader. In the 1990s, Apple updated the Macintosh many times, but sales continued to drop because of the competition from other computer companies. In 1997, Jobs returned to Apple to change the company's direction. The iMac was launched in 1998. It cost $999 and was created to have the same design on the inside as the first Macintosh, but not to look like it on the outside. Another change was Jobs wanted to sell computers directly to customers and started the Apple Store. They also launched a laptop called the PowerBook G3. A laptop makes it easier to bring your computer with you wherever you go. In 2001, Apple released iTunes, which let MP3 users download and listen to music. The company's profits increased greatly. Also in 2001, Apple released the iPod, which was their MP3 player. It cost $399, and Apple called it 1,000 songs in your pocket. Computer sales weren't doing well, but iPods were going through the roof. Today, iPods have been updated 5 times, and the current iPod is the iPod 6. In 2003, Apple started the iTunes Music Store, where you could purchase an individual song for 99 cents. In its first year, the iTunes Music Store sold more than 70 million songs. People have always thought computers and phones had to be on your desk or on the table and you couldn't bring them anywhere. Apple changed that with the iPhone. Steve Jobs announced on January 9th, 2007, that Apple was going to make a special type of iPod with a widescreen touch feature plus a phone feature plus the internet. That equals the first iPhone. At the time, the iPhone cost $499 for the 4 gig. Since the first iPhone, Apple has updated it 6 times, and the current iPhone is the 6S. On January 10, 2010, Steve Jobs was on stage at a very special Apple event to announce a new mobile device. It was a combination of an iPhone and a laptop. It could search the internet and call and text and other things that an iPhone and laptop could do. It was going to be called the iPad. It was much bigger than the iPhone and the iPod. The iPad has been updated 3 times since the first iPad in 2010, and the current iPad is the iPad 4. Today, Apple's most popular and top-selling product is the iPhone, and has still been the favorite since it was first introduced. Though the iPhone is the most popular product, most expensive is the 12-core Mac Pro at about $3,800. Ever since 1997, when Jobs returned to Apple, the advance in technology has increased greatly from 1997 to today than it ever did from the 1930s to the 1960s. Apple right now is a $15.3 billion company. Today, because of the iPhone, iPad, and iPod, Apple has become the world's second largest mobile device manufacturing company. When Apple made the first home computer, it allowed people to have their own computer at home. They have made our lives easier by helping us do homework, projects, communicating through social media, and recording special events in our lives. Computers are incredibly different today than they first were in 1977. Today, they are considerably smaller than in the 1970s, are more affordable, can work faster, and can do many more things than the first Apple computers could ever do.